The Rafale fighter jet holds a significant place in India's quest to modernize its air combat capabilities, yet its journey from acquisition to operational deployment has been complex, layered with both promise and challenges. Understanding the situation in detail requires examining multiple dimensions, from strategic needs and acquisition processes to operational integration and the future trajectory of India's Air Force. The Indian Air Force (IAF) has been striving to address a pressing need, maintaining and enhancing air superiority and multi-role combat capabilities in a rapidly evolving regional security environment. Historically, the IAF has relied on a mix of older aircraft that, while robust, have gradually become outdated in the face of modern warfare demands. To sustain deterrence and operational readiness, the IAF set a target of approximately 42 squadrons of fighter aircraft. This number is not arbitrary. It represents a balance between maintaining sufficient air power to cover the extensive geographic area of India and its borders, while providing the ability to manage maintenance cycles, pilot training, and operational deployments without overstretching resources. By the early 2020s, the IAF's effective squadron strength had fallen below 30, due to the phasing out of aging aircraft, some of which had served for decades. This created a clear capability gap, especially since adversaries had been rapidly modernizing their own air forces. The Rafale fighter jet was identified as a critical element to fill this gap. The French-built Rafale, classified as a 4.5-generation multi-role fighter, is designed to perform a variety of missions ranging from air superiority to ground attack, reconnaissance, and nuclear deterrence support. This flexibility was attractive to Indian planners, who needed an aircraft capable of handling multiple roles with high effectiveness. In 2016, India finalized an intergovernmental agreement with France to procure 36 Rafale jets. This deal was intended to be a fast-track acquisition that would bolster India's frontline capabilities within a relatively short timeframe. The aircraft deliveries commenced in 2019 and were completed by the early 2020s, with 2 squadrons operationalized and integrated into active service. The integration involved extensive pilot training, infrastructure upgrades at airbases, and establishing maintenance regimes. The initial feedback from the IAF pilots and technical teams was largely positive regarding the aircraft's performance, maneuverability, sensor suites, and weapon compatibility. However, the Rafale acquisition has not been without significant points of contention and challenges. One of the most prominent issues raised by analysts and stakeholders has been the cost. The overall price for the 36 jets, including weapons packages, spares, training, and maintenance support, was reportedly among the highest per unit costs in global defense procurements at that time. This raised questions about cost effectiveness, especially when compared with initial expectations in the earlier tender process that was abandoned. Critics argued that the pricing did not reflect competitive bidding and that the government-to-government route, while faster, resulted in higher expenditures without sufficient transparency. In addition to financial concerns, the limited number of aircraft acquired, only 2 squadrons worth, meant that the Rafale could not by itself resolve the IAF's numerical deficiency. While these jets brought advanced technology and capabilities, their relatively small fleet size constrained strategic flexibility and scale of deployment. The Air Force has since expressed the need to acquire more Rafales to increase the fleet size significantly, with proposals to procure over 100 additional units under a new program called the Multi-Role Fighter Aircraft (MRFA) project. This new procurement effort aims to secure a government-to-government deal that includes greater technology transfer and local manufacturing involvement, thereby addressing some of the previous shortcomings related to indigenous production. The prospect of local manufacturing is a critical aspect of the new MRFA project. India has been pursuing a policy of increasing self-reliance in defense production, seeking to develop domestic capabilities in aerospace design, manufacturing, and maintenance. In the Rafale's case, while the 2016 contract involved direct imports of finished aircraft, the new program envisions assembling a substantial portion of the jets in India. This will be carried out in partnership with Tata Advanced Systems, which has already developed expertise in aerospace manufacturing. The idea is to move beyond simply receiving completed aircraft towards creating a local production ecosystem that can support ongoing maintenance, upgrades, and eventually, limited design changes. Yet, even with plans for local assembly, the reality is that the most sophisticated technologies embedded in the Rafale, such as its radar, engines, electronic warfare systems, and mission computers, remain under tight control by French manufacturers and the French government. These components are unlikely to be manufactured indigenously in the near term. This means India's role in production will focus largely on airframe assembly, systems integration, and some secondary components. While this is a step forward compared to full imports, it does not equate to full technological independence, and Indian defense planners recognize this limitation. From an operational logistics perspective, the relatively small fleet of Rafales also poses challenges. Operating a unique aircraft type in limited numbers increases the complexity of spare parts management, technical training, and maintenance infrastructure. The economies of scale that benefit larger fleets do not fully apply, and this can lead to higher per-aircraft operating costs. The IAF must maintain a dedicated cadre of technicians, supply chains, and training modules specific to the Rafale, separate from other aircraft types in the inventory. This diversification, while providing tactical benefits, also strains resources and complicates overall fleet management. Another limitation of the Rafale relates to its generation status. As a 4.5 generation fighter, it incorporates many advanced features but lacks some characteristics that define fifth-generation aircraft, primarily stealth capabilities such as low radar cross-section design, internal weapons bays, and advanced sensor fusion. This places the Rafale at a relative disadvantage against newer stealth aircraft being developed or deployed worldwide. For India, this is a strategic consideration as the country contemplates its air combat future beyond the immediate decade. While the Rafale strengthens current capabilities, it does not close the gap to next-generation air dominance technologies, underscoring the need for a balanced fleet that includes more advanced indigenous designs. The delivery timeline of Rafales also impacts India's defense planning. The initial batch of 36 jets was delivered on schedule, but the MRFA program to acquire a larger number of Rafales is still in the approval and negotiation stages. Production capacity constraints on the manufacturer's side and the complexity of establishing local assembly lines suggest that new deliveries would be staggered over several years, possibly extending into the 2030s. This prolongs the timeline for significantly increasing squadron numbers and leaves the IAF to manage capability shortfalls in the meantime. Moreover, the initial Rafale acquisition did not include transfer of critical technologies that would allow India to modify or upgrade the aircraft independently in the future. This limits India's ability to adapt the jets to emerging threats or customize mission systems according to specific operational requirements. While software updates and some systems integration are possible under existing agreements, full-scale upgrades or major design modifications require close collaboration and approval from the original manufacturers. For a country aiming for strategic autonomy in defense, this dependency is a limiting factor. Finally, public and political discourse around the Rafale has been intense, occasionally overshadowing purely technical or operational discussions. Questions about pricing, procurement transparency, and strategic justification have sparked debate and review. Although many of these issues are administrative or policy-oriented rather than directly linked to the aircraft's performance, they affect public perception and can influence the momentum of future acquisitions. The Rafale represents both a significant capability enhancement and a complex strategic challenge for India. It fills immediate operational gaps with a proven, versatile platform capable of meeting many mission requirements. However, issues related to cost, limited initial procurement numbers, constrained domestic production involvement, operational logistics complexity, and absence of stealth features temper its overall impact. India's future air force structure, with Rafale at its core, will depend on successfully navigating these challenges, scaling up procurement in a timely manner, integrating local production meaningfully, managing maintenance and training efficiently, and aligning the fleet with evolving strategic needs. The Rafale is thus a critical, though not singular, piece of India's broader air power puzzle, symbolizing both progress and the limits inherent in balancing foreign acquisition with domestic aspirations in defense aerospace.